Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. Welcome back to the New Lindsay Show. And today I'm just going to lay out some expectations and how we, as a fan base and as a team, are going to look forward at these next 5, 10, 15 years as Cincinnati Bengals fans and as the Cincinnati Bengals family. And starting off, I really want to go into this year. We all know that obviously we're coming off a great AFC championship year, and I don't want to take any of that for granted. And I really just want to go and take a little recap of what we accomplished during that season because I don't really think, for as much as people are looking into the future, nobody really understands that the only way that we can improve in the future is looking at past either mistakes or things that we've learned and be able to build off of those and compound games, years, lifetimes of thought and understanding into our new era of Cincinnati Bengals football. And diving right in, you go back, look at our season, 10-7. So great going into the playoffs. I really didn't think we had. I said on my last show, the New Jungle podcast last year, um, it. I was actually talking with Zim, and during that episode, we were saying that I really don't think that there was any way for us to go into a first round game with Joe Burrow and lose. It didn't matter who it was. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback. It didn't matter about anything else. And we proved that immediately going in and beating the Raiders at home, going and showing our potential. Our defense stepped up when it was necessary, and our offense was rolling when it needed to be rolling. We scored points when we needed to score points, and we got stops when we needed to get stops. And that is the key to a great football team in those first couple rounds of the playoffs. And then going into Tennessee and Kansas City, you rewatch those games and you understand, yeah, we're gonna fall back a little bit because I keep saying this every week, but like we don't know what we don't know. And we didn't really know exactly what it took, and Joe admitted that. Joe Burrow admitted that in an interview or a press conference or something like that, where we understood what it took to win in a game, but they didn't understand what it would take in a playoff game to win those hard playoff games. And going back and looking at that, you can see almost throughout the game that the team is almost morphing around the different style of play that each opponent is doing in a playoff game rather than a regular season game, because regular season games are going to play different. Obviously, it's not as high as stakes. You're not going in. It's not one and done. Like you're gonna have more weeks. You're gonna be able to prepare for next week, and you're just trying to get better on that level. But in the playoffs, it's do or die, and you can see that that team was not going to die on that field without a fight. And with that came incredible grit and incredible outcomes, and we were able to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, and we were literally one drive short of winning that Super Bowl. And once you end that season, yeah, it was heartbreaking. I couldn't fathom going through and thinking through that Super Bowl and being like, wow, we were so close. We were right there. I could feel it on my fingertips. And you go and look forward and think, oh, all of this stuff that we just learned about in this last season is going to have to translate again. And then you realize nothing ever really is the same. And then you think of, oh, you get all these questions from people who are like, oh, was this run a fluke? And obviously, it was not a fluke. I don't care who's giving me hate comments about me saying that I'm not whatever. Like I don't believe in the Bengals because I put the Bills first, or me not believing in the Bengals because I think that we have room for improvement or something like that. This team has unlimited accessibility to show us that they are the team from last year, and I really think that 10-7 is a baseline for them. That is something that if they do not crest, they will not be satisfied. I don't think anything in this team this year wants anything short of that ring, because they literally had it on their fingertips. They could feel it on their lips. They were right there. And this team has nothing short of potential for Super Bowl caliber plays and Super Bowl caliber games where you will see that they are the same team from last year, but improving. Ja'Marr Chase will only get better. Joe Burrow will only get better. T. Higgins will only get better. Our offensive line has gotten better, addition by subtraction and then addition again. I mean, the equation is there. You go and you're compounding and multiplying. What I said earlier, you're compounding years, and you learn from those mistakes of last year, and you can go back to that Jets game, which that was an awful call. I spent like an hour last year on a show where I was talking about that New York Jets game and how awful that call was. There was nothing wrong that Mike Hilton did wrong. It was legitimate awful refereeing. It was awful calling. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it, but we got screwed in that game. And you go, yeah, we lost 2 games to the Browns, but one of them we started 0-1 because we had already clinched the division, and then the other one we were like 3 plays from winning that game by the same amount of points that they beat us. So I mean, yeah, a win's a win, but how much are you gonna go into that and be like, oh, are the Cleveland Browns better than us? No, there's no way on God's green earth that the Cleveland Browns are better than us. They're not. By any sense of the word, they are not. And 2 wins are 2 wins, and you can pull up, oh, wins and losses, whatever. Let's go and rewatch those games. And there are 3 plays in the first game that I can show you where if those flipped, we win the game by 14 points. And if you go back to the second game, Joe Burrow wasn't starting. Ja'Marr Chase was in for like 3 plays to get the rookie receiving record. And I don't even think anybody else who had even the potential of starting in the playoff game wanted to play more than a drive and a half, if that. So those are okay. Like whatever. If you're gonna pull those out of your butt, then whatever. We're not those. Those are wins, but not wins that I count as something that it was a mistake. There were no mistakes there. We didn't do anything to where it was where Cleveland really showed us that they were better, because they were trying for that game. They still needed to try to get in the playoffs for that, and it was a crazy scenario in which they would have if they had. But whatever. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, because the Cleveland Browns are not better than us, and they're just not. So those games, Green Bay, we had them on their heels, and if we made a field goal, it would have been fine. But I'm not even close to worried about Evan McPherson. There's no reason why I should be worried about Evan McPherson, so I'm not. It's just you look at the losses, and you can't help but think, like, there were flaws last year, but we've fixed them. Our defensive backs, not our safeties, like our cornerbacks. We had Chidobe Awuzie, who played great. Eli Apple was a lot better than what his mouth was giving us, and you look at his stats, and he actually played very well, but sometimes his mouth got him in some bad situations, which I really don't understand why the hate on him was so real. I mean, I do, but I don't. But other than that, you don't really get into a game and you're like, oh wow, like we're really just not a team that should have gone to the Super Bowl. There were reasons. We were there for a reason. And you look then to the future of starting short this year. This next year is going to be so much better than last year. Like I said, 10-7 is the bottom. That is almost borderline unacceptable for this team. Joe has said in interviews he doesn't think about anything other than football right now. It's football is his life and football is his blood right now. He was in the Anderson Township Kroger the day that I'm recording this, but you could tell you were able to see him just behind the little whatever, and you could just see like he had no want to be there at all. He's focused on football. That's where he is. He's wanting to be like, it's win now mode. They're all in like, okay, like winning is the standard. Losing is not acceptable. And I think us as a fan base, we've started to pick up on the people who are giving us that attitude that we should have. We are in win now mode. Losing is unacceptable. This team is so good. Defensively, we've gotten miles better just by adding the defensive backs. Healthy Logan Wilson, healthy Joseph Osai. I mean, the loss of Larry Ogunjobi is not ideal, but you still have Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader, and Sam Hubbard, and Josh Tupou, and all the guys up front. Dax Hill, Von Bell. Hopefully, we can get Jesse Bates in there. That would just put it over the edge on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Chidobe Awuzie, Cam Taylor-Britt, like we're not slouches. I don't know where this thought process is coming from where, the Bengals are like there's a fluke. I have no idea where that thought process is coming from, other than the fact that, it's Cincinnati and you shouldn't win. Like, whatever. Sorry, guess who else didn't win for a really long time? The Bills. But guess what? Now they are constant Super Bowl contenders. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be looked at the exact same way, if not better, because you will learn who's the better team on that Monday night game. And I can promise you that it won't be a blowout. It's going to be a game, and you are going to see that these teams are not dissimilar. The Bengals are not a team that is a stat pad team anymore. You have to take us seriously. We are not a high school team. We are not a stat pad game. We are not a week that you can look over. When you have a three-headed monster on the outside, not including the person who's in our backfield, and then a top 5 quarterback in the league with an improved offensive line who already put up borderline MVP numbers in the season before, and you're going to count us out already. That's only on the offensive side. I talked about the defensive side about 35 seconds ago. And then Evan McPherson, who, no matter what, you're scoring points on a drive you get over the 50-yard line on. And I promise you, we will not have many drives where we will go 3-and-out. So thinking about that going into this year, there's an extreme differential between, okay, we don't exactly know what this team is last year, but this year you're going to score points. There is a very high possibility that you have 4 1,000-yard skill players in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon, and then a 5,000-yard borderline 40 touchdown quarterback in Joe Burrow. I don't know what else you want me to say. They're going to lead you to points. Excuse me. Sorry about that. They're going to lead you to points, and points win games. And the only thing that matters in a win is that you have more points than the other team, and our defense will get stops when they need to get stops, and our offense will score points when they need to score points. Go watch the Kansas City games again. You had no thought process that the Bengals are going to score points in like the first quarter and a half of those games. And then you go immediately, that's 7 points on the board. Oh, a stop happens again, another 7 points. Oh, and now your 21-point lead is cut down to a drive. You can't count out a team like that who can switch on you on a snap of a finger, on the drop of a dime. It's impossible for you to overlook a team that has that potential. And this year, there's no reason. My prediction earlier this year when when I went over the schedule, I said 12-5. I think that's 100% realistic. There's no reason why we should be under 10 games. I said 10 games is the floor for this team. Losing is unacceptable to this team, to the coaching staff, to the training people, not including the players. Like, nobody in that building thinks losing is an option. Losing is not an option this year. They have their eyes set on a Lombardi trophy, and they will do anything to get it this year. There's no reason why anybody should think otherwise. And moving forward, in a year after this, years after that, 5-10 years, you have to think about going. And there was a great podcast on the channel earlier this month where Zim and Ace talked contracts with a contract guru, and the Bengals have the ability. We have the ability. Joe Burrow's not going to burn your bank account. He won't. He doesn't want to. He is a win now quarterback. He's not going to go and push for more money. He's not going to go and act like he's not going to drain you for every dime. And I don't think anybody on this team has that will either. We have the ability to keep all of these people for long periods of time. Joe Burrow wants to play with Joe Mixon and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd for probably his entire career and their entire careers. They don't want to go anywhere else, and I know that's not necessarily possible with money and stuff like that. Like, money, you can't pay everybody exactly what they're going to want. Somebody's going to have to settle, and it's either going to be the team or the person that is like the player is either going to have to decide, okay, am I willing to take a pay cut for winning, or do I want to go somewhere else to try to win and get more money? Which that's totally under the player's mindset, and that's up to them. But I have no reason to think that any of our players want to do anything other than stay in the city. I really don't. There's nothing else I can say about it other than that. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to hold so many hopeful key pieces to our team that is only getting better by the day. I mean, you go and see old tape of La'el Collins pushing over people because he's so focused on protecting the quarterback, like pancake blocks to the max consistently. And you go look at our offensive line that we're keeping. Jonah Williams is a dog. And now we've added Ted Karras and Alex Kappa. And you obviously, there's an injury on the line. I'm hoping that something like a miracle happens where we'll be able to be healthy all year, but obviously injuries happen. And it's not ideal that things like that happen, but you have to go through it. But I think we are starting to once again find the depth in this team, both mentally and roster wise, where we are able to pick and choose our players, and we're not having to settle for somebody at a certain position, especially on offensive line. And our defense, like I said, has only gotten better. We've only improved in so many different ways that in these next 5-10 years, if we can get these guys paid, which I do think is very, very, very likely and possible, that there's no reason why this ceiling isn't a dynasty. I said last week that we're sitting on the brink of a dynasty, and obviously we're not there yet. We haven't seen it. Like, it's not there. I wouldn't call us a dynasty. We had 1 year where we went to the Super Bowl, and we still need to prove ourselves. But there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to prove ourselves, is what I'm saying. And thinking back to all those things that I said earlier about compounding games and compounding years, there's no reason why year after year after year, if we can get these guys paid, which everybody we've talked through it, I don't really think there's any reason why we shouldn't be able to pay these players, that we have such an exciting future as Cincinnati Bengals fans and as a fan base cheering for a team that has always not given us the consistency that we may have wanted in years past. And now I think we're at that point where you're going to start seeing the consistency, and hopefully like the years of Boomer Esiason and Ken Anderson coming back into like we weren't not a winning team. We've gone to multiple playoffs in a row, but we're finally going to flip that switch and be able to win those big games where you're going into, you have the quarterback, you have the wide receivers, you have the running back, you have the defense, you have the kicker, you have the coach. Zac Taylor, I'm on your ship. I'm here. I'm here for it. I want to be here. I'm on Zac Taylor's train. He has done so much for this team. Trust the process. All these players have bought into it, and we've been able to go and push and consistently prove that his method worked last year. It was there. We've seen it. We trusted the process, and now we're there for it. But you need to make sure that you're capitalizing on all those different aspects of the team, and then on top of it the front office has to pay all these people. And I don't think that that's necessarily an issue, but moving forward you have to know that the ceiling is high. The only thing that's stopping us is money, and I don't really think money's that much of an issue for even if the small market team aspect of everything, considering that a lot of these players aren't going to drain you for every dime that you have. I don't think they know the money's going to come to them. They know what they deserve, and they know that they're great players, and that at other places you're going to get offers. But are you going to sacrifice that for winning? And I promise you, the Bengals aren't going to give them low ball numbers. Like you're not going to have somebody be like, oh wow, I really am going to have to think hard about this. I think when you are going to start seeing these contracts rolled out and you have to pay all these players, you're not going to go, and our team's not going to put ourselves in a bad spot. And I'm not a front office worker. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't know what talks have been going on. Jesse Bates isn't really a great example. I can't speak on that because I'm not the agents and I'm not the lawyers for the Bengals and I'm not dealing with their money. But a lot of these other key players, especially on offense, and then the new players that we're getting on defense, like they're wanting to be here. They've said that they're like the winning culture is here, and half of it's Joe Burrow, and then he spreads on all these players where they're locked in. There's nothing but football in this city right now. We are a football city here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And on that note, we have a bright future ahead of us, and there's no reason why our floor will not get higher and higher and higher, and our ceiling is already limitless. And on that note, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I appreciate all of you who come back each and every time and support me and are able to go and find all this content and like it, and go reach out if you want me to talk about anything. I'm going and probably going to try to get more college football in. Arch Manning just signed with Texas, but we're always on that horns down train, baby. Arch Manning should have gone to Alabama. I'm just going to say that right now. But, we have Jalen Milroe on the back, and we'll get into college football soon. Soon, very, very, very soon, everybody. But I'm so very excited for the future, and thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it, and